Heard it. Hello, welcome to week 2 of our book club with Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. And so we decided and established last week that everybody's going at their own pace. Everybody's going to read as much or as little as they want to. We're talking about concepts here. We're talking about ideas and just bringing to the table aha moments or things that stuck out to them. I am listening to it on audiobook. Brad over here is listening or reading it on his Kindle, so he can like highlight things. And so for me, I've been trying to listen to it with a notebook and writing stuff down. And so, yeah, and then we'll talk about two or maybe even 3 of our 17 takeaways that I printed off from the website. So does anybody have any aha moments they want to bring up first and foremost?
Oh, me? Oh, thanks.
You, Brad.
So I don't know how far everybody else is in the book, but I got to a part in the book where a wife was cooking a holiday ham and she cut the edges off of it and put it in the pan. And the husband was like, "Why do you do that?" And she's like, "Oh, my mom used to do that." And so when the mom came in, the mom was like, "Well, that's what grandma used to do." And then when grandma showed up, grandma was like, "Oh, I just did that because the pan I had was too small." So essentially there was nothing special to it. It's just, it's one of those traditional things. And so you can equate that to essentially like how we deal with and spend our money as well. Like we do what we're just accustomed to doing or what we were brought up with, no rhyme or reason, essentially. So that was kind of like an aha moment as well. And then I kind of was joking around with Sadie the other day. I was like, we need to get on a blueprint, a money blueprint together, because we're not on the same money blueprint. And I think that we are, but not at the same time.
Yeah.
Like
that's true. I'll be in a big save mode,
and then I'll be in
a spend mode, and then we'll
and then the roles will reverse. So those are the 2 big aha moments for me, essentially. And then one thing that I highlighted that I really liked was like attracts like, meaning that when you are complaining, you're actually attracting crap into your life. Mm-hmm. So, it's one of those things like, it's always good to vent every once in a while. It's good to have those friends that, you can lean on. But if the person you are with all the time or talking to all the time is just constantly just bombarding you with crap or just constant annoyance or problems without solutions, well, you're attracting that. And then therefore it's kind of like going back to you. So
I like how he said that, like crap moves slowly because it's the viscosity of crap. That just made me kind of laugh.
Yeah. And then when you are complaining, you become a living, breathing crap magnet.
Yeah. I thought that was true because we all know people like that. And it's like they're swimming in this very, gross part of their life.
It's exhausting.
It is.
Like that. It's just like, that's the living energy right out of you. It's like, oh my gosh, I love you, but I can only take this much at certain times.
Right. And what I like about the blueprint idea that he talks about with money, like I feel like you can take that same concept to other areas of your life. Like you have a blueprint on how you view nutrition and food. You have a blueprint on how you view all different kinds of subjects. Is that Molly?
Hi, Miles.
Say hi, Molly. Hi. So, it's definitely like something that you can we might have Robert here join us, so I'm going to send him the link real quick. So let's see, what aha moments, what other things did you write down?
Honestly, I wasn't a very good student this week, but I had read, I had read a good portion of the book, and I was trying to go back to the beginning and reread because I hadn't for a while. I jumped into a different book. Sometimes I jump around a little bit, but I do remember the ham story. Mm-hmm. It's just so relevant in so many places in life where it's like you get into these patterns and you just do stuff and you're like, then somebody comes along and challenges your thinking and says, "Why do you do it like that?" And you're like, "I don't know. Let me think about that a little more,
Yeah.
Like, is it really serving me? Is it really what are the roots to that? Where did it come from?
Yeah.
And by doing that, a lot of times it's like, wow, it's like, I need to shift my perspective in a whole new way on that or this and grow, because
so
you can't
powerful.
get stuck in any pattern, and it can be a positive pattern or a negative pattern, it can be serving or disserving to you. So
yeah, absolutely. And, really finding the root cause of where some of that came from, you may never know for, some of this stuff, but some of it you can like find out that like there really is no solid standing ground on why we believe certain things. And so sometimes taking a good step back or a couple step backs and really looking at the purpose of it. I was really brought up, and this has been, really makes you analyze like your parents, and you don't want to sit here and like say bad things about your parents and things like that. But like my mom, just like money was slippery. It was just always, couldn't hold on to it. Can't hold on to it. It's like a fish, it's going to slip out of your hands. And so, and she still kind of has that mentality. And so I was talking to my sister about that, and it's hard sometimes when we do get some additional money that comes into our lives. We're like, what do we do with it now? And so we're trying to like teach ourselves from the standpoint of like having no formal, education on how to do this stuff. And so I like the, what are they called? Like the declarations that he makes us do, or put your hand over your heart and say something, and then put your hand. I've been doing them every single time. Like, I know they're cheesy, but Brad is always the cool kid, just so you know, like he doesn't always.
I just don't do it.
Home now. I'm
probably, I can't see you.
I mean, it takes 30 days or whatever to make a habit.
Yeah.
So my problem is I started doing that and then I stopped. It's like, I got a consistency piece down in a lot of areas. So,
well, muscle memory too, like when you sit here and do things, your body will physically remember it. And so sometimes doing that, like, thought process, it's like, it's not even about like, nobody's seeing you do it, but like you are attaching something to your heart, and that's where our heart is. And then we're thinking something with our mind. So Robert's on here, but he doesn't have his video on.
Hi, Robert.
No, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. No, I'm just driving back from my haircut. I'm almost home.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to see me.
Cool.
Well, this is Molly. This is my cousin. She's my second cousin up in Washington. And Robert is one of my
Hi, Molly.
bestie friends from high school. He's in Las Vegas.
Nice.
So he was the one that we went out to visit. So we were just kind of talking about our takeaways from the book. And then we were going to kind of discuss some of the takeaways from the blueprint, the outline that I found online. So last week we talked about,
cool.
Yeah, I like having this as like something to kind of, because we could just sit here and talk all the time, but like having something to kind of reference is nice. And so the second one on here says that rich people play the money game to win. Poor people play the money game to not lose. In sports, teams that strictly play defense and no offense have a hard time winning. Unfortunately, most people play the money game on defense where their primary concern is survival instead of wealth and abundance. Poor people want to have enough to pay bills. When your intention is to have enough to only pay the bills, guess what? That's exactly how much you'll get and nothing more. The middle class step up is a notch and want to be comfortable. Being financially comfortable is okay, but these people usually look at the right side of the menu before ordering the food. Bottom line, Ecker states, if your goal is to be comfortable, chances are you'll never get rich. But if your goal is to be rich, chances are you might end up comfortable. So in the book, one thing that he's talked about, and I've heard this said with like a lot of different mindset coaches, is like a good goal to have is to not have to look at the price of the food when you go to a menu and just order whatever you want. And so, obviously steaks are more expensive, things like that. And so if you go to the store and you want, like Brad, he'll order a ribeye. It don't even matter. Like he'll order it. We'll be on a budget. He doesn't care. He's ordering that damn ribeye. I'm over here like, I'll get the hummus, please. It's the cheapest thing on the menu. So it is a mindset thing sometimes where it's like, if you step it up and order from what you want to order from, and Robert's in the restaurant business, so, you know, he's very familiar with that game. But I'm
sorry, I can't hear you very well. Hold on. I heard you talking about me.
Get settled and we'll go back to it.
Hold on one sec. I'm going to get my headbutt in so I can hear you.
He lives in an RV.
Nice.
So.
Okay, now I'm with you guys. Thanks for your patience.
Yes. So he talked a lot about the whole comfortable thing. And like, I feel like I grew up hearing people say that all the time. And I've been somebody to say that a lot, where it's like, we just want to be comfortable, but our level of comfort is like probably not really what we want to be, because like comfortable is paying your bills and then being able to buy things, this and that. But like, if we raised our standards of what comfort is and like go a couple of notches higher than comfort, you know, then we really would be in a good place. But we are kind of taught to hold back and be like, I just want to be comfortable. I was doing a vision board with a couple of ladies, and some ladies weren't even doing it. They were like, I don't want to do one of those. And I'm like, well, they're not in that growth mindset right now. And that's fine. But I'm sitting here like looking for some wealth words and things like that. All I could find was one. They had like Better Homes and Garden magazines. They were not good magazines, but like I found one word that said rich. And I'm like, I don't know if I love the term rich. I love the term like wealth, because that's more like distinguished. That's more like bigger picture. Like there's wealth. Wealth is something you can pass to your kids. Wealth is something that, you know, it's just more of a status symbol instead of just saying like, I'm rich. Ooh, I'm rich. Like that's like a thing. So that's kind of my thought process. What do you guys think about this whole comfortable versus having exactly as much to pay bills and things, and bottom line?
Well, when I was listening to that part, you know, he talked, I remember a story where he talked about a guy that had went to a seminar, set a goal to make 2 million, and then he made it within like a few months. And he's like, well, I should have set higher, so I'm going to come back, whatever. And I was out on a hike when I was listening to this, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, you know, I set a goal to make $100,000 this year. That's, you know, significantly more than I've ever made.
Yeah.
And so then in my head, I'm like, God, am I setting my goal too low? Should I be going higher? You know? And he did talk about making sure your goals are reasonable for what you can do. And, you know, and that's where I was like, you know what? I think that is a great goal. That's huge, because this goal isn't just because I want to make $100,000. The reason why was because I calculated exactly how much my bills are for the entire year. I added that up. I added in my, you know, my budget of what I can spend for various things. You know, I added in a couple of trips and then two large savings goals. And, you know, and I did that long before I listened to this. I did that a couple months ago. So with that, I was like, you know what? I think that's a great start, because not only is that a huge accomplishment, but that also sets me up to be able to move out of Vegas in a year if I want, and have enough money not to work for a company for, you know, at all. By then, I'm hoping I won't have to with my business, but, you know, in the meantime, I still don't want to give up on that goal. And it's kind of funny because I've been struggling at my job lately. I'm just not making enough money. And the Friday, Saturday, I worked a double. So I worked like 10 hours. And the tips just weren't worth it to me. And then it comes to the point where my time is being wasted and not spent on things that could better my vision. So yeah. So I did end up talking to my manager about it. And then I also talked to my manager about transferring to a restaurant on the Strip called The Palm. It's in Caesar's Palace, and their food looks amazing, and it's quite more expensive. Even has a dress code. So, you know, it's very high caliber. So that's what I'm going to pursue, because even with that, I could work the same amount of hours and increase my weekly income from the 13 and some change I'm having to up to 2,000 a week. which is going to be right on track for that goal. And free up more time. So
that's the thing that he talks about with the universe. Like if you ask it and you put it out there, like the universe is going to find ways to bring you money. And so sometimes it's not in the way that you always see it. Sometimes like, I'm going to put Molly on the spot a little bit, like she found a man, that's been more than happy to, help her in some areas. And like, sometimes it's just not always in the way that we think it is. But when you start putting that out into the world, like, I want to bring more money into this life, like sometimes it comes in like other formats where it's not just like, here's cash right in your hand, or here's a new job, or here's a new thing, but it's opportunities. Like I remember me and Brad fell asleep listening to a YouTube that was about wealth, like bringing in wealth and abundance and stuff like that. And then the next day we get a call from our mortgage company asking us to refinance the house, saving us like thousands of dollars a year. It was so crazy. We were like, whoa, like,
yeah,
like, I don't know why we don't listen to that every night, to be honest. But I mean, it's like, you just attract things like that. So you never know, like ask and you shall receive. That just keeps being like a mantra. And then I keep saying things like things always work out for us. I've been saying that for forever with me and Brad. Like things always work out for us. Like if we get into a little bit of a hole with money, things always work out for us. And so it's like, that's a very comfortable saying to say, like, it always work out. Like if I spun it a little bit to say like, we always find big amounts of money. Like if I just say that, even though it hasn't been like big amounts, like the universe will start shoveling it in. And so sometimes it is just changing that. So I'm going to bring up we'll talk about one more of these principles on here, and then we'll start wrapping it up because I want to keep it to 30 minutes recorded. We can still talk afterwards, but just in case anybody wants to watch the recording. So this one says, rich people are committed to being rich. Poor people want to be rich. People have a lot of negative wealth files floating around in their subconscious mind that tell them that there's something wrong with being rich. Examples: what if I make it and lose it? Then I'll be labeled a failure. I'll never know if people like me for my money or my success. It's too much work. I'll be at the highest tax bracket and then I'll have to give half of it to the government. I could be robbed. It's too much responsibility. Many of us have mixed internal messages about being wealthy. One part wants it because life would be a lot more fun, but the other part screams that they'll have to work like a dog to get it. These mixed messages are why most people never become rich. The number one reason most people don't get what they want is because they don't know what they want. Rich people are 100% clear on what they want is wealth. They are fully committed and they do not send out mixed messages like poor people do.
Wow. It's a little powerful.
Yeah. I mean, like he can be really like bold.
Yeah, very forward.
Yeah.
But I can really relate to that. I think I in fact, I know I have some of that because for so long I have not had that kind of mindset.
Right.
Not around that kind of mindset, and always been like, barely getting by. How am I going to pay the bills? Got to get another job, and being in survival, I guess, type mode versus, and seeing that. I'm like, good grief, you look around and there is money in this world. It's like, I have no idea how people do it. How do they do that? And it's kind of a scarcity thing. And in my brain sometimes, like, I can't stand being this broke. But at the same time, I'm like, gosh, if I had so much money, then those other thoughts start coming in, like almost like a fear of failure and a fear of success all at once. Mm-hmm. And it keeps me stuck, I'm sure of it, because it's like I need laser focus to move. And
I think I get caught up in the hard work aspect. Like making a lot of money is a lot of work. Like, and it doesn't have to be like, but that's the way that it was ingrained in my head as a kid. Like my dad would always be like, I have to work really hard to make this money. And my parents, my mom and stepdad, they were always in the survival mode where they had to like work hard and like they dedicated so much to it. But there are, like you said, there's so much money out there. It's just a matter of like attracting the right kind of money. Like even just saying like money comes easily to me. Like it comes naturally, it flows to me. I have money flying at me. Like saying that type of stuff sounds so crazy, but like getting past all of these other, you know, limiting beliefs and stuff is so important. So yeah, well, we'll go. Does anybody have any other like last minute thoughts and stuff before I just stop the recording here in a couple minutes so that I can kind of keep that within that 30 minutes for anybody that watches the recording?
I think that on page 78, he says something really good, really kind of like about this. And that's rich people see opportunities, poor people see obstacles, rich people see potential growth, poor people see potential loss, rich people focus on the rewards, poor focus on the risks. Mm-hmm. So again, it goes back to that focusing on that mindset. So if you want to be rich, you have to look for the opportunities, you have to have the potential growth, and you have to have the focus on the rewards and not the risks. And I think he does talk about Donald Trump and the fact that he lost billions. He went from billions to zero, and he was just like, all right, whatever, and then I'll just earn it back, and he did. So it's just one of those growth mindsets. So.
That's like what Eric Worre does. Like Eric Worre lost like all of his fortune, and then he's like, I'll get it back. Like that's the way that they think. Like a lot of the wealthy will invest all of their money into something because they know they can get it back. Like they've just already had that in their mind. Like that's, you know, and I'm working towards that. I did a big purchase and I'm like, I'll pay it off by May. Like, it's fine. I'll pay it off by May. Like inside, there's still part of me like screaming, like that was scary. But you know, it is like just bringing that, being like, it's okay. You know, like you'll get it back. It's fine. Like
I can relate to that. When I moved out here to Vegas, you know, I had to buy, you know, I went from this vision of having freedom into deciding, well, I'm going to buy an RV and live in an RV. And I found the one that was good for me. And then from there, I was like, well, I'll find a truck for it. You know, the amount of, you know, monthly finance that went into this was scary. It's more than, you know, I'm used to. And it's funny because now that we're talking about, you know, how you're raised with around money, you know, my mom would be, you know, sharing her caution, you know, like, are you sure that's a lot of money, you know? And that's interesting because, you know, because for me, I took it on. Like, yes, it is scary. And yeah, I took a month off. I didn't have a job lined up when I came here. And I only had one freaking interview out of 12 applications I've turned in. But I just knew I would figure it out. And it hasn't been easy these first couple of months. But it hasn't been awful either. It's been a little bit uncomfortable, and I make the changes needed, just like this new job. But it can be scary when you take on an adventure around finances. But I see where those beliefs can be limiting, and I see where it also can be freeing as well.
And like one thing, you know, and anybody who's watching this, like people know what I do, you know, with the network marketing, Molly's in that as well. Like a lot of people are really held back by like the like a lot of things, but the work and the label and the failure and, you know, all of these things. And that's all the growth. Like you just said, like you were put in uncomfortable situations. Like uncomfortable is how you grow. Like you legit do not get any better unless you get uncomfortable and do things you don't want to do. And we kind of live in the society where like people are like, I just want to be comfortable and cuddled and be safe all of the time. But that is not life. That is not life. Like, and if you try to teach people, whether it's kids or whether it's students or, you know, people in your life, like employees, things like that, how to cope and overcome these obstacles, like it's going to suck in that process, but it's going to be so much more beneficial in the long run. And so I've always said, you know, like what I'm doing with this company, it's helping to build to this platform that I will be such a better, like if I start my own business, like whatever I end up doing, going back to nursing or anything, like I'm going to be so much better for it because of all of this stuff that I've had to learn how to like overcome, because this isn't easy, just like nursing wasn't easy. And that made me into the person I am. But like, it's not easy to change something that's been ingrained in your head for decades since you were a kid. But the first step that I wrote down last time, somewhere, is the fact that you are acknowledging it. like you're acknowledging what you're going through, the awareness. You're aware of your changes in money and mindset and things like that. The next step is understanding where it came from. So you're like, this was the mindset was taught to me from my parents or taught to me from TV or taught to me wherever. And then the next is disassociation, taking that away. That's not my thought process anymore. I used to think that men worked and women stayed at home, but not anymore. And then reconditioning and teaching yourself that like, I can do this. And this is how, you know, I'm going to start living my life. So I wrote that 4-step down, and you can apply that in any area, not just in finance. So I thought that was really important. So we've got about 3 more minutes left. So any other takeaways or thought processes?
Oh, I have another good quote. I'm so sorry. I'm a quote guy. I love quotes.
Quote it up. Let's go.
So yes, I'm playing soccer as well.
Yeah, play soccer.
Okay, give me a second. All right, so a quote I got from there, and it's coming to our mindset, humans, you know, with our mind and how we think comparatively, like to a big oak tree. Like oak trees and redwoods just, you know, they just grow and grow and grow. And the quote is, if a 100-foot oak tree had the mind of a human, it would only grow to be 10 feet tall.
Ooh. That's a good one.
So,
might have to steal that one from you, Brad.
I thought that was really good, you know, and just in the sense of like, we're the ones that continue to keep ourselves from growing. Mm-hmm. It's our mind, mm-hmm. you know, and then, yeah, just thought that was really good. So
I've been working with a few like teammates and like friends and stuff on their mindsets lately. And like, I'm calling people out. Like, I mean, I'm at that point where I'm like, I've dedicated a lot of my life to mindset work and working on myself. And I know not everybody is there yet, but it's like being more direct and just saying like, hey, listen, like I actively am hearing you complain. I'm actively hearing you blame and say that. I had one person tell me that she felt like the only way that you do well in isogenics is if you're just a little itty bitty thing. And I'm like, maybe you should meet me in person, because I'm not a little itty bitty thing. And I'm like, if you met most of the rest of the people, I'm like, that's your mind. That's something you created and that you are saying in your head. That's like clearly not true. There's no stance to that or anything. I'm like, but if you keep saying that, if you keep convincing yourself that that's the way it is, then like, that's all you're ever going to see. And so working with that person on trying to change that right now, but you can only show people, you can lead a horse to water all day. They have to want to change it though. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here. We can still keep chatting, but thank you for watching.